and speaking to that, because you can always shut out the lower end and still make your money, but you don't really want to do that. And in those 15,000 people who will never be able to afford $1,000 a month rent, you may actually have some of those best and brightest that you want to recruit for Amazon, and you'll never know it because they will never be able to, you know, flourish because they don't have the right housing. So I just want to put that out.
Thanks for that comment. Thanks for that comment. And we have about a minute, and I appreciate I appreciate that question very much. I'm sorry that we only have a minute left before this program is done, but thank you very much for your question. Do you want to take that in a minute?
If I can quickly answer, I mean, the Amazon Housing Equity Fund invests in projects all the way, up from 30 to 80% of AMI. So more than half of our investments are actually below, are below 60% of AMI. So it is in the area median income. I know everyone in this conference understands that. So I mean, we are very again going back to that word of intentionality of making sure that we're trying to ensure that our investments are able to be spread across the affordability spectrum. I will say that the deepest affordabilities are challenges that where dollars alone can't solve, and private sector alone can't solve. It's something that I think we found that we've been most successful in partnering, in achieving lower AMIs in our projects by partnering with jurisdictions and regions that are able to invest on top, where we can layer our investment on top of public investment in order to achieve the deeper affordability levels. But it is, because I completely agree, it is important for us to ensure that we are being as inclusive in our investments. And some of our preservation investments are expressly to try and address that.
Karen, can I get 30 seconds for that?
Oh, sure, please.
So just on our company as well, in every development we do, we have units that are, and I used 1,000 as an average, and so we have units that are available at 30% of the median income, 40% of the median income, between 30, 80, all the way up. And we did the development I spoke about, Virginia Beach. A homeless shelter was built by the city of Virginia Beach right next to one of our developments. So we reach out to that facility and we try to take them from homelessness to affordable housing. And affordable housing for us can mean, I mean, we have rents all the way down to $350, $400. So I mean, that is somewhat affordable, I think, or possible. And so we have worked with the homeless population to try to take them from homelessness to affordable housing.
Thank you, Taylor. That's a great way to, yeah, well, very good, very good. Thanks to the panelists for joining us, and thanks to you all. We have one more speaker who I will introduce in a moment, and I think we can all go to our places, and thank you. Great.
Thank you, Secretary.
Thank you. Thanks so much. All right, so it's now my honor to introduce to you our governor who's leading the way to make Virginia the best place to live, work, and raise a family, and someone who has a focus on housing to make it accessible, affordable, and attainable to make Virginia home. Governor Glenn Youngkin.
Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. Looks like a living room. Thank you all for being here and investing your time in such an important topic, housing in Virginia. I appreciate the fact that everyone has been fully engaged for a number of days. We're concluding things now, and hang in there with me for another few minutes, and then we'll be able to all get home. But first, let me just thank some folks. I want to thank Director Brian Horn of the Department of Housing and Community Development, Chief Deputy Todd Weinstein, again, and Associate Director Bill Curtis for the work that all of you have put in. Thank you. I also want to thank Secretary Karen Merrick. Secretary, thank you for your leadership. I'd also like to thank all the panels and the speakers that have been engaged over the last couple days, joining us for these discussions around opportunities and challenges facing our housing sector. I would be remiss if I didn't thank Susan Dewey and her team at Virginia Housing for the critical role they play in the mission that we are all pursuing. So thank you. And I feel like I should go through and thank each one of you who are here, because each one of you plays an integral role of what the fabric of Virginia housing is all about. How do we have more opportunities for Virginians to chase that dream of having a spectacular place to live, to raise their family in, to come home to after work, to maybe have their pets mess up while they're gone. That is the dream of every Virginian, of every American. And each one of you plays a role in making that dream a reality. And so thanks to all of you for coming together in this great fabric that is required in order to bring those dreams alive. This year, the Department of Housing and Community Development and our administration partnered to conduct a series of listening sessions across the Commonwealth, roundtables with developers, local leaders, advocates to understand the challenges in housing. And I have to tell you, over the course of the last couple years, I have heard from thousands of Virginians, personally in conversations, through emails, phone calls, letters, oftentimes showing up at the Patrick Henry Building in Richmond to talk to me about it, to talk to me about the challenges, the opportunities, and the issues. And what we've heard from Virginians over and over again is this sense of frustration. They're tired of searching far and wide for that for sale sign, only to see that it's out of their reach. They're deterred by the cost. Virginians are also seriously worried that ongoing inflation and rising interest rates will make the American dream of owning a home not something they can't have today, but something they may never have. There's a real fear. And Virginia developers and builders are frustrated with fewer options and restrictions that have been placed, that have resulted in fewer places to develop. And we see pressure on the supply of single and multifamily homes as a result. And Virginians are a bit tired of a bureaucratic overstep that they see all the time as property owners. Their property. They want to do with it what they want. These are real challenges. I hear them all the time. You hear them as well. And these are all understandable reactions to some basic problems. Problem number one is there aren't enough homes, there aren't enough units today. Full stop. As of 2021, we're building about 30,000 homes a year in Virginia, and that's about half of what we used to build about 15 to 20 years ago. We're also facing a shortage of 200,000 affordable rental units. And with limited supply comes frustration. But what also comes with that limited supply of single-family and multifamily homes is the runaway cost associated with them. It's just too expensive. Discrepancies in supply and demand impact housing costs at all levels. 4 of 5 renters are below the 50% mark in their area's median income. And the average single-family home as of last year in Virginia was $355,000 when it sold. That's an increase of 30% from 2016. This has had the worst impacts on places that need housing opportunity the most, our urban and our rural communities. And to be clear, those are the areas where we also see the most emphasis on economic development. And without a housing solution, we don't have an economic development solution. And the third issue is on top of we don't have enough supply today, and it is too expensive today, is we don't see an increase in production in the future to meet this challenge. And there's lots of contributing factors, lots of them. But I hear repeatedly how unnecessary regulations have left developers with more ambition than opportunity, and families, as a result, worse off. Communities reported that instead of taking a year to lay the groundwork for a housing development project, it is taking as long as 30 months for a single-family project and upwards of 36 months for a multifamily project. And when rezoning can add tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, and in many cases millions, these delays and added costs put everything at risk and, in fact, stop it. Now, there are substantial efforts across the Commonwealth to address the supply problem and to try to increase accessibility. We've allocated $27 million in affordable and special needs housing loans just in July to create and preserve nearly 2,000 total units for low income and extremely low income households. 1,588 new construction units and 16 units for more home ownership opportunities. We've awarded a total of $60 million in housing opportunity tax credits to investors developing affordable rental housing throughout Virginia, allowing for affordability and efficiency in the development and building process of rental housing, resulting in more affordable home options for Virginians. So far, Virginia has deployed over $68 million in federal dollars that over the past 5 years through the DHCD for the creation and preservation of affordable housing units. We funded the Virginia Housing Trust Fund with other programs with $124 million during this same time period over the last 5 years. And in the current biennium budget, which I just signed this past July, it provided an additional $150 million to be appropriated for the Virginia Housing Trust Fund. And on top of this, Virginia Housing has deployed over $14 billion for the creation and preservation of affordable housing, including multifamily rental developments and single-family home buyers, beginning in fiscal year 2017. There has been a lot of effort. We signed, in order to try to cut regulations, Executive Order 19 in June to establish the Office of Regulatory Management to provide transparency and to streamline regulatory processes across Virginia. And we've seen significant reduced time in how long it takes to make a regulatory change. See, when I took office, the governor's office review for a regulatory change on average took 240 days. Today it takes 2 weeks. And so we are trying to cut the time frames down. When the Department of Professional and Occupational Relations wanted to make contractors' exams available in Spanish, we expedited the review and got it done quickly. So I say all of this to explain that access to housing is a complex and multifaceted issue that state programs and local programs and nonprofit programs and, oh, by the way, many corporations are working together in order to try to meet. There's substantial monetary resources, loans, subsidies, tax credit programs already working to offset the rising cost and increase supply. But to be clear, it simply is not enough. We need to meaningfully increase the supply in the marketplace. As an administration, we are looking for best-in-class approaches to these housing issues. But there are key parts of the equation that we need to go ahead and address. Regulatory burdens that restrict the supply of buildable land and unduly hinder and delay the development process have to be addressed. Permitting complications that delay and oftentimes prevent the building of housing developments need to be addressed. And restrictive land use controls that unduly interfere with the rights of property owners to develop their land and which restrict the supply of land for housing need to be addressed. As I said, it is a multifaceted issue, but let me outline some elements that our efforts are focused on in order to increase the supply of housing. First, we have to increase the supply of land for development. And to push forward, we are working to establish deadlines for localities to improve and expedite the land use and zoning review process by creating meaningful and realistic guidelines for development in each locality's housing plan that include necessary reporting on all new and existing policies and actions that impact housing development. We're comprehensively reviewing Virginia's land use and zoning laws to make them more efficient and transparent. And we're creating a searchable database of residentially zoned land that is owned by state and local governments so that developers can use it to locate potential sites for development. Second, we must align housing development with economic growth. See, let's just be clear. We want economic growth, which means we need a workforce. And if we want a workforce, we have to have some place for them to live. We need to unleash housing development plans just like we are unleashing economic development plans. In our efforts to grow existing businesses and attract new ones, therefore, we will ensure that housing is prominently included in the Commonwealth's economic development planning and site development process. You see, we had $158 million appropriated in this most recent biennium for site development. We have to also think about housing development that goes with it. They must be married. And we want to establish public-private partnerships with site selectors and developers to include workforce housing in each one of our economic development processes. Third, we need to remove burdensome regulatory barriers for housing development. For example, developers report that the scarcity of available wetlands and stream credits creates significant delays in housing development process. So we are focused on bringing some real efficiency to this whole process. First, we will always ensure that mandated wetland and stream mitigation requirements are met in such a way that it does not jeopardize the quality of that mitigation. And we can also work to operationalize Virginia's existing wetland and stream replacement fund. We are working to streamline the process of bringing new mitigation banks online and releasing desperately needed wetlands and stream mitigation credits. And we're continuing to improve and streamline the environmental permitting processes with transparency and best-in-class process. The goal here is to shrink the timeline and make it more dependable so that we can increase our supply. You see, to make Virginia the best place to live, we must grow. And with growth comes the demand for a place to call home and all the things that come with it. Schools, shopping, public spaces. And so we have to have more development-friendly local regulations and processes. We also have to respect the rights of the landowners. To make Virginia the best place to work, we have to have adequate workforce housing for a growing slate of Virginia employers and employees. It's so exciting to see Virginia ranked #1 in Site Selection magazine. It's so exciting to see Boeing and Raytheon come to Virginia. It's so exciting to see Lego come to Virginia. It's so exciting to see Hilton expand in Virginia. It's so exciting to see the next generation of ag tech come to Virginia, like Plenty. It is so exciting to see distribution and warehouse and logistics companies come to Virginia. We have to provide a place for folks to live. And finally, this is not easy, and we all know it. If it was easy, it would have already been done. So we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do together. Because that dream of owning a home, of having a place that you can raise your family in, as a place you're proud of, that dream should be an achievable dream. not an impossible dream. So the work that we will do together will make that dream a reality. And let me finish by once again thanking all of you, because each one of you has a part. Every organization in here has a role to play. And together, that dream will be an achievable dream. Thank you all very much. God bless you, and have a great day.